Welcome to another edition of the Magic Latest Podcast where we discuss everything Orlando Magic basketball. I'm your host, Jalon Dixon, and we have a couple of things to get into. But before we get started, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for daily Orlando Magic content. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers and trying to become one of the biggest Orlando Magic podcasts here on the YouTube platform. So remember to hit that post notification bell so you always know when we're dropping new videos. And let's go ahead and get right into it, right? And I'm not even going to bury the lead here. Yes. That was an insane scoring output in the loss to the Boston Celtics. I'm gonna give everybody that allowing the Boston Celtics to score nearly 140 points in regulation is terrifying. I will admit that. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with a good old moral victory. There's nothing wrong with it when there's proper context. The context for the Orlando Magic, you may ask, no Jalen Suggs, no Goga Batazde, no Wendell Carter, and no Paulo Banchero. The starting lineup for this game, Desmond Bane at the 1, Desmond Bane at the 2, Anthony Black at the 1, Tristan Da Silva, Franz Wagner, Orlando Robinson starting at the startup center. Mind you, Orlando Robinson is our third center on the roster. So to make that clear, 3 of the team's top 4 scorers were out due to injury in this game, along with our secondary rotational center in Goga Batadze, who also missed this game with left ankle soreness. So the silver lining, the quote-unquote moral victory of this game, is this was a game where the Orlando Magic were storming back in what was a very lopsided game if you just go based off the first half. In the first half, they were outscored 80 to 57. 80 to 57. And had a fourth quarter of 40 points that nearly stole this game back. On the back of what? I never thought I would say this, and I'm sure a lot of you on the other side of the camera here, a lot of you on the other side of the computer here that have been in tune with this podcast for as long as I've been doing it. If you've been in tune with this podcast, you know my feelings about Jet Howard and how I'm not necessarily sure where he fits on this roster, what to make of his progression as a player, given the fact that we have such a small sample size. And I'm sure that all the Jet Howard enthusiasts in my comment section, because there are a few of you, there are a good amount of you actually, that believe that Jet Howard not only should see more minutes, but that he really deserves a good shot at getting real consistent rotational minutes. Not just seeing the floor every game, 8-10 minutes here. No. Like actually getting real productive minutes on the floor on a night-to-night basis. I'm sure a lot of you are cackling at me after this game against the Boston Celtics. I'm burying the lead without burying the lead here. Jet Howard, in 29 minutes, had 30 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and was an even 0 plus minus on this game. Didn't hurt, didn't help, but one thing I know for sure is the man took 23 shots. Do you want some more context as to what that whole thing is? Jet Howard took 13 three-pointers, knocked down 5 of them. Shout out to bro. That's what you were drafted for. His 13 three-point attempts. Mind you, I said three-point attempts. He shot 23 times. That was the most of any player in this game not named Jaylen Brown, who is an all-star, and he shot 26 times. I digress. Let's get to the part that's really important. His 13 three-point shot attempts is equal to Desmond Bane's total shot attempts, 13, Anthony Black's total shot attempts, 13, and more than Franz Wagner, who had 10 shot attempts in this game. Did I mention that Jet Howard played the most minutes of any Orlando Magic player in this game? Oh, yeah. Jet Howard played this game like he's not sure if he's going to see the floor for the next month. And fair, rightly so, because his minutes have been as sporadic as anybody so far this season as far as the Orlando Magic are considered. So maybe he is playing like a dude with his hair on fire, like a dude that's not sure when he'll see his next really great opportunity. And boy, did he make the most of it. Because he almost single-handedly, him and Jace Richardson, who we'll talk about in 1 second, nearly as a tandem, came in and game wrecked this thing to backpack the Magic almost into stealing this game back after such a rough first half. In a game where Tyus Jones had 3 points, 1 rebound, and 6 assists in 24 minutes. When you see these two ball out the way they did in this game, it makes you wonder. If you're one of those people, like me, that was a big Tyus Jones optimist coming into the season, it makes you wonder, is it time to stop? Is it time to cut the crap? Time to stop with committing to this bit of, oh, the veteran backup point guard that can help control the floor. No. And don't get me wrong, he had 6 assists in this game. I don't want that to get lost that from a floor general perspective, sure, he did a pretty good job in this game. And he was a +8, which was tied for the second best plus minus of anybody who played real volume minutes, with, ironically, Jace Richardson. I get it. There's a part of me that genuinely believes that maybe it's time to stop committing to the bit. Maybe trying to give the vet, who, mind you, is only signed to like a $7-8 million 1-year deal. It's not like this is somebody that you gave a lucrative contract to and you're stuck with the idea of having to pay him. Having to play him big time because you owe him big money, even if it was for just 1 season. You owe him $20-25 million, so you need to get $20-25 million player contributions. You're getting an $8 million player. You got a budget baller, so to speak. So when you see performances like these, you're looking at the young guys and you're like, they're playing themselves into just flat out deserving more minutes. Because Jace Richardson, he hooped in this game too. 21 minutes, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 7 of 11 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3. Again, I mentioned beforehand that he was a +8 in this game. And these guys just brought a desperately needed offensive firepower off the bench. They combined for 17 3-point attempts, which 17 3-point attempts would legitimately have been just a little under half. Just a little bit over half of the team's total 3-point attempts in this game. They took 38. They combined for 17. The entire starting lineup of Bane, Black, and Wagner took 19 threes. Those two and Howard and Jace took 17 as a duo. The entire starting lineup took 19 as a group. Tristan Da Silva, that was free throws. 3-point attempts. That was free throw attempts. 6, 7, 9, 10. So the entire starting lineup took 10 3-point attempts to the 2. The duo off the bench, the 2, taking a whopping 17. These guys came out with their hair on fire. They came out with a certain level of aggression. We don't do too much clipping for this channel, so it doesn't really matter. But if we were to clip it, let's put it like this. Jett Howard. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's how I want to phrase it, because I want this to be definitive. Because a lot of people know how I feel about Jett Howard, depending on how locked in you are on this channel. So I want to say this definitively. Jett Howard and Jace Richardson just came off of combining for 48 points against the Boston Celtics in a game where 3 of the Orlando Magic starters did not play. In this game, They unlocked a three-point shooting element from a volume perspective that this Orlando Magic team has not had all season long. And it has to do with the fact that they came in, particularly Jet Howard, with a certain level of urgency to provide something this team desperately needs. And something, an archetype that we have talked about on this podcast a lot, which is the go-to volume scorer off the bench that can take advantage of a 20 to 25 minute a game stretch for themselves, right? Where through the flow of the game, 20 to 25 minutes, is able to come in with high volume as far as shot attempts and has no fear as a three-point shooter. Both of these guys gave the Orlando Magic that in this game against the Boston Celtics. Jet Howard embodied that in this game against the Boston Celtics. We obviously know that Jet's not going to drop 30 every single night. Otherwise, why the heck is he not starting? But if you can get some semblance of what we've seen from Jet Howard and Jace Richardson in a game like this one, not only are you unlocking an element of this Orlando Magic team that they desperately need, but you might have finally found the secret sauce to this team maintaining a top 10 offense in the NBA this season. You might have just stumbled upon it. You remember when the Golden State Warriors stumbled upon finding out that maybe Draymond Green is just a better fit than David Lee? They just kind of fell into the idea that, wait a minute, this guy sets hard screens. He's a good pick and pop player. He plays with a lot of energy on the defensive end. Let's give that guy a shot. And he becomes this guy that's like an all-world NBA caliber defender, can guard multiple positions in space. In the early portion of his career, was able to stretch out and shoot the three ball a little bit. Saw that at Michigan State as well. And you just saw a guy that like had the hunger enough to earn that starting spot over David Lee. Somebody who was very solidified in Warriors culture, by the way. I think you look at this team and you look at what they've been able to kind of fall into with a game like this, where they were given no other option. Again, 3 of their starters were missing this game, including one big contributing piece in Goga off the bench. They had no choice but to find it a different way. And you might have fell in backwards, Ezio Eagle drop style for my Assassin's Creed fans, into a situation where you found out that, you know what? Tyus Jones might be the archetype of point guard that really does fit this team as far as being a table setter in the half court. But we just need some hoopers who can come out and score the dang basketball. And yes, are you going to give up some defense? Are you going to give us some defense by playing these guys heavy minutes? Heck yeah. Again, the Boston Celtics scored nearly 140 in this game. But you've unlocked an offensive aspect of this team that we've tried to assign to a player that's not on this roster right now. Again, how many times have I said Victor Oladipo, Malik Monk, Russell Westbrook, right? How many times have I said this type of player because of what I believe this Orlando Magic team is missing? What you guys have said in the comment section, believe this Orlando Magic team is missing. And you might have just stumbled into a situation where you can address that in your own locker room. Now, did I think it was going to, before the season started, I thought it was going to be a position battle between Jet Howard and Jace Richardson in order to figure out who that guy may be. What if there's a reality where that guy is just 2 guys that play the same position and just happen to have to overlap in order to get the full experience of what that one player could bring? What if you need Jet Howard and Jace Richardson together to equal a Malik Monk level of production off the bench? What if you just need that in order to get the same level of result for this team? What if you need that in order to get that same punch without having to commit that kind of long-term money to a guy or concerns of whether or not you'll have to be able to have the scratch to bring him back on a lucrative contract after he expires later on in his contract. Because Malik Monk is only signed for about one more year before he's up as an unrestricted free agent again. Right? Or having to take the risk on an older Russell Westbrook. Or let's say the Sacramento Kings are doing a fire sale and you have to put together a package to try to get that same style of player in a Zach LaVine who's going to want to start, and there's no real specific avenue for him to be a starting two guard on this team because you have Desmond Bane, because you have Jalen Suggs on the team, right? And instead you just get it in one guy. Because getting it in one guy like that, it's nice. It's good for your rotation as far as being able to have a tight rotation that's playoff ready. But what if you just need two guys to do the same thing? What if you just need two guys to achieve the same result? If you're still getting a guaranteed 18 to 20 points off the bench from two guys instead of one, but the three-point volume is there, the aggression as a go-to score first player is there. What if that's just what you have to do? Shout out to Jet Howard. Shout out to Jace Richardson for this game. Again, they're not going to come out and score 48 combined as a backcourt coming off the bench moving forward. I don't think so. But they definitely just made the conversation a lot more interesting. And for people who are Tyus Jones optimists as myself, the seat just got hot. I'm going to be honest with you. Next up, something a little bit quicker, but something I did want to talk about as well. Someone else who shined in this game in limited opportunity was Noah Penda. Noah Penda had 13 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, was 5 of 6 from the field, knocked down both of his threes, had 1 block, and 4 of his 8 rebounds were on the offensive glass. In this same game, Jonathan Isaac played 4 minutes, had 1 shot, which was a 3-pointer, shocking, and he missed it and was a -9 in this game, which was the worst of any player off the bench. Everyone else was either a 0 if you're Jet Howard or net positive. Jonathan Isaac was a -9. Noah Penda, +12. Best on the team in this game. So it got me thinking. I brought this up in the offseason. I genuinely still kind of believe there's some merit to it. In games like this, I feel like kind of warrant the question, should we consider Noah Penda getting more minutes over Jonathan Isaac moving forward? Noah Penda is not Mo Wagner from an energy perspective in terms of what he brings to the team. But Noah Penda's on-floor production is very similar, I should say, to what you could get, what we have gotten from Mo Wagner as far as just doing the little things. Offensive rebounding for this team, huge. How huge, you may ask? This team had 18 offensive rebounds. Again, 4 of 18 offensive rebounds. Just nearly a fourth of the offensive rebounds came from Noah Penda alone. Further context, Noah Penda was the highest of any player on this team as far as offensive rebounding in this game. This is something that I think needs to be monitored. Very similar to the Tyus Jones being phased out by Jet Howard and Jace Richardson thing. This is more of a similar aspect to the Draymond Green over David Lee comparison in terms of the veteran with the footing with the franchise, known productivity. But there's this young buck over here that just gives you a whole different flow, whole different energy, whole different vibe, whole different skill set that just might be a lot better for the team moving forward. If Jonathan Isaac was not expendable before, I think Noah Penda just booked his flight out of Orlando with this game. And some of you will say, well, Jalen, it was just one game. How in the world is he going to already make Jonathan Isaac? Jonathan Isaac was already walking himself to the plane, the first plane out of Orlando, years ago when it became very apparent that this guy was only going to be able to play 65 plus games if he played 15 minutes or less. That's when it first started. And he's been walking himself down ever since. And don't get me wrong, are you going to get a first round pick for Jonathan Isaac? Somebody is truly out of their mind if they do it. I'll say that much. And it doesn't mean you won't, but you'd be completely out of your mind if you do it. Maybe call the Pelicans. They're smart enough for what that's worth. But I think these guys got to play. I think that's a long way of saying, like, Jet, I'll admit, like, I think he has to play. I don't know if he watches the podcast. Maybe he heard me talking crap about the fact that he has a low sample size and lack of productivity since being drafted out of Michigan. He came out and gave everything and then some. He gave me the good FU without putting the middle finger up, basically. Because, I mean, he came out this game and literally made sure that for every minute he played, he got a bucket. Literally. He took nearly as many shots as he did minutes in the game. Basically, he took a shot for every minute and a half he played in this game. He wanted it to be known, not only that he's here, but he is not planning on leaving Orlando anytime soon if he has something to do about it. Jace Richardson, I figured he was going to be the one that would beat Jet Howard out. And yes, he played well, but Jet Howard played in a different manner. But I also think that Jace Richardson outplayed Tyus Jones, who was 1 of 6 in this game. He outplayed Tyus Jones. So he gets bumped from the lick, but that doesn't mean you just can. That doesn't mean that you have that there has to be a choice now. Things get a little bit tricky when Anthony Black gets moved back to the bench when Jalen Suggs is back healthy. And maybe that's where the position battle sparks back up again, because now you have to ask yourself who's going to be the first two guard off the bench. I don't think that's been determined. I don't think one game can determine who should get more minutes out of Jet Howard and Jace Richardson. But these guys got to play. And Noah Penda, he doesn't have a position battle worth worrying about, in my personal opinion. Because I think the backup power forward spot is still relatively open, especially with Mo Wagner not healthy. Because you got Tristan Da Silva. He's a backup 3. Paolo's the starting 4. And you're really just looking at a situation where it's Mo Wagner and Goga Batazde who can interchange as small ball 5s or the backup 4. So Noah Penda has the least path of resistance in terms of being able to get real minutes, especially if Jonathan Isaac can only get 4 minutes in this game. And by the way, let's just do the game log. 4 minutes, 16, 15, 6, 13, 14, 14, 16, 13, 4, 4, 8, 15, 15. Theme? He's the most he's played in a game this season. The most he's played in a game this season, for the regular season, is he played 16 minutes in 2 separate occasions. The New York game recently on Saturday, and ironically, the New York game back in early November. But his cap is 15 minutes a game. He has, including, if we start at opening night, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. 9 games where he played single-digit minutes. 9. I'm just saying, Noah Penda, he's a real player for this team. Jonathan Isaac, he is not. And I don't think you owe him anything, quite frankly. Look at the paycheck. Look at the paycheck every single week. Look at the paycheck every single month. Paid in full. Paid in full. And then some. As far as I'm concerned, if you look at the overall productivity, paid in full. You don't owe him anything. You don't owe him a thing. You're looking to maximize the chance to win a championship in a year where the Eastern Conference is in a weird spot. The Detroit Pistons are the best team in the East. The Cleveland Cavaliers are a team that's good and trying to figure themselves out all at the same time. The Milwaukee Bucks have a rising young player in Ryan Rollins. The Atlanta Hawks are doing it big without Trae Young. The Charlotte Hornets may or may not have LaMelo Ball on the trade block. We'll talk about that a little bit later. The Toronto Raptors have a top 10 offense this season. This is one of the weirdest seasons we've had in Eastern Conference history. Which means it's also the perfect time for the Orlando Magic to strike. You don't need to waste time on Jonathan Isaac when the biggest thing you're trying to figure out is who's going to be in your 9-man rotation when the playoffs come around. Because I promise you, if Mo Wagner is healthy, if Goga Batase is healthy, Jonathan Isaac would not see a minute on the floor for this game, for a single game of it, for this team. Excuse me. If the Orlando Magic win the Orlando Magic, make the postseason, if Mo Wagner and Goga Batase are healthy, Jonathan Isaac will not see a minute on the floor in the postseason. Period, point blank. Someone who could still buy themselves a real chance to make the playoff roster for this team, I think is Noah Penda. So do you want to go ahead and nail that coffin now, early in the season, figure that out now, get a better understanding of what you have in Penda now, who clearly has the intangibles to be that fit for you? Or do you want it to be a game 5 down 3-1 with your hair on fire and you got to do something, throw some kind of curveball to shake things up to make a difference in the series? You put Noah Penda in the game for 20 minutes and you find out he's an absolute hooper. Now you go back to the crib 3-2 and the series changes, and it took heart palpitations out your body in a hot seat for you to finally lean into the fact that maybe Noah Penda's a really good basketball player. I mean, the Coach Mosley, it's on you to make that decision. But I think a lot of Orlando Magic fans think the same way I do, that Jonathan Isaac's been cooked, and getting grandfathered through on a roster this capable is only hurting the squad instead of helping them, regardless of what Jonathan Isaac means as a mainstay to this team. Let him be Udonis Haslem. Let him be the player coach off the bench that knows how to play defense, but just doesn't have the physical intangibles to be able to commit on that side of the floor the way he used to. But he sure can give a good pregame speech. We'll see. I'm just saying. I think we're at that point. Quick topic here with Franz Wagner. Dude's balling. 37 points, a career high in the game against Boston. Absolutely hooped. Knocked down 4 threes in this game. Showing off that the 3-ball is just kind of coming along really nicely. Something I kind of want to point out, again, I think I've said this a few times, that I genuinely believe that Franz Wagner is like becoming underrated because this Orlando Magic team has had so many other things to talk about this season. But the man's shooting 35% from 3. He's doing it on really good volume. He's shooting nearly 60% true shooting so far this year. He has 25.8% usage, which I think honestly could be higher if we're being honest, but I think that's a great testament of the level of ball movement this Orlando Magic team is starting to play with over the last handful of games. With such a high usage, 26% usage is still relatively decent. Only just under 2 turnovers a game, I think, is big time for someone who has the level of ball handling responsibility that he does have, despite not being a primary decision maker on this team. Franz is just good, man. Franz is just a good basketball player, and I think this stretch without Paulo, which again is so weird because I genuinely believed that Paulo Banchero would not take this long to get back on the floor. Again, I think I said this like an episode or two ago that I think this is a little bit indicative that maybe that groin injury was a little bit more dangerous than we could have really assumed in the moment. Either that or the other side of the coin is that maybe the Orlando Magic are just simply playing it safe in terms of their day-to-day evaluation by saying, look, we're winning basketball games. Jalen Suggs is bouncing in and out of the lineup due to injury management. Why don't we just do the same thing with Paulo? And as long as we're winning games, like we're fine. Why rush the superstar back when the biggest blunder we had last season was that all our top guys were hurt at the same time and it really cost us? Why do that when you can go through the growing pains of dealing with these issues early in the season, and then when you get the games 50 and 60, when you really need to start putting together your push towards the playoffs, that's when you're playing your best basketball with everybody at full strength in a season that, regardless of whether or not people want to admit it, is a war of attrition before it is even a battle in the standings. Let's be honest, the first 50 games alone is just trying to get through the midway point of the season safe. A lot of teams who know their playoff caliber, they're just trying to get to the All-Star break without seeing something happen that's going to devastate their season. If you're just in the mix, let's just say you go into let's say you just go into the All-Star break 500, ninth in the Eastern Conference, 8th in the Eastern Conference, but all your guys is healthy. You just feel really good about yourself. Because you made it to the midway point without any devastating injuries, and now you have the chance on the second half of the year where things are just the dog days of the season kick in, and you're just really trying to make that final push. The tanking teams are in full tank commander mode. The teams at the top of the conference are just moseying along. A win or a loss couldn't change things too much for them unless it means that it's one of those that's going to cost them seeding in the standings. But as far as their playoff security, they're like, hey, as long as we get to the postseason, we'll be straight. And then you have teams like Orlando that still has something to prove. And if they have the health in the second half of the season to coast through it, it puts you in a different spot. So the fact that Franz has been able to backpack this offense in a really big way without Paulo Banchero, I think is huge. And you pair that with the fact that you're seeing some younger guys emerge. You're seeing really good play from Tristan da Silva and Anthony Black. This team is figuring out a lot about themselves without Paulo. Shoot, I'll go a step further. I think this team is figuring out a lot about themselves without Jalen Suggs. And I love them both. But I think this stretch has forced them to have to figure out what they have. And I think that's fair because if I'm being honest with you, a lot of people will also tell you from the Caps perspective for this team, their best bet to get better was somebody internally taking a leap of faith, taking a step forward. Because if we're being honest, the Orlando Magic do not have the financial scratch to go get a big fish. They do, but it's going to cost them real assets to if they want to really commit to the bid. You're going to be in the Laurie marketed convo if you'd like to. You can be in the LaMelo Ball conversation if you want to. You just have to understand it might cost it's going to cost you a pretty penny. So I think Franz being the player he's been, paired with forcibly having to unlock some of the youth that's on this roster, it's actually been like what do they say? I mean, I don't want to use like too cliche of a saying, but it's one of those things where you fall into a lucky situation, and whether you believe it's real or not, you just got to lean into it and ride the wave, right? So I don't know how much longer Paulo Banchero is going to be out. I haven't seen any reports that make it seem like he's going to be coming back in the immediate future. So we'll see just how much longer it takes before we see him back on the floor. But Franz is keeping the ship afloat. And this roster has some gems. We knew it coming into the season. But it's great to see it actually on the floor starting to come to fruition, because I think it's going to slowly but surely start answering some of our biggest questions entering the season. Last but not least, this is really just a one-off question, because this is me trying to get a gauge of the Orlando Magic fan club down in my comment section. LaMelo Ball says it's BS. Anonymous executives and other NBA insiders say that the Charlotte Hornets are shopping LaMelo Ball. Again, Ball says it's BS. He said it didn't come from his camp. Doesn't know what they're talking about. Reports say the Charlotte Hornets wouldn't be opposed to at least hearing phone calls on LaMelo Ball. Now, ain't nothing wrong with hearing a phone call. Ain't nothing wrong with picking up the phone. Question is, should the Orlando Magic be on the other side of that line and consider making a play at LaMelo Ball for this team? It's a one-off question because I don't have a great answer right now. I think the situation with Jet and Jace recently just really changed my mentality around it. Is it enough for me to fully jump ship? No, I don't think so. But does it make me wonder if the real issue that needs to be addressed on this team just is not the guard position? And I think a lot of you guys were saying this back in the offseason when guys like LaMelo came up, where it's like, no, we need a backup center. No, we need a backup power forward. We need a rebounder. We need an Andre Drummond, Gershon Yabusele, Dayron Sharp. We need one of them. We need one of those guys. Nicholas Clax. We need one of those guys. And I'm starting to, I understand that portion. I also believe that this team does need a true distributor at the point guard position for a team with guys like Franz and Paolo, where like you just need guys who can get the ball to these dudes in like an easy spot. Need a guy who commands so much attention offensively that it just creates so much space for Franz and Paolo. And then when he has the kind of upper echelon passing that Ball does. I mean, the Magic have never had a passer like LaMelo Ball in the last 10 years, genuinely. Like, they have not had a facilitator nearly as talented. And I'm talking about strictly as a passer. I'm not talking about what he can do in terms of bringing 25 points per game or any of that stuff. And, of course, I understand that health is a concern, obviously. It's the biggest concern about LaMelo Ball. So I don't really have a great answer right now, because LaMelo's not coming off the bench if you trade for him. And LaMelo Ball probably has to be moved for either Jalen Suggs, or they're going to ask for something ridiculous like Franz Wagner, which you obviously hang up the phone. If they ask for Franz or they ask for Paolo, you hang up the phone. If they ask for Jalen Suggs, like Jalen Suggs, Jonathan Isaac, and Jet, what do you do? Or what if they ask for Jalen Suggs and Jet, and that's enough for the money to work, and then they ask for a future first round pick, and it's just those two in the first rounder? Like, what do you do as the Orlando Magic? What do you do in response, in reaction to it as an Orlando Magic fan? I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say, because this is going to be a talk for a little while. Whether it's true or not, the jig is up. The conversations are going to be had about at least what could you get for LaMelo Ball. And the Orlando Magic have been a team that's come up in the LaMelo Ball conversations more times than not over the last 2 years. But as an Orlando Magic fan, seeing what you've seen through nearly 20 games, we're nearly a fourth away into the season already. Based off what you've seen from this Orlando Magic team, could LaMelo Ball be an option? Should he be an option? You guys let me know in the comment section down below. That's essentially going to act as my question of the day. Do the Orlando Magic make a phone call to the Charlotte Hornets about LaMelo Ball? If yes, give me the price tag you're willing to pay. That makes sense, please. And if no, tell me why not. Because I'm curious. And I'll answer a lot of you guys' responses to those in the next episode because I just want to get a vibe for where everybody's at. But this has been another edition of the Magic Latest Podcast. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for daily Orlando Magic content. As usual, remember to hit that post notification bell so you always know when we're dropping new videos. I will see you guys again tomorrow. But until then, peace.